Bounds Live After Dark, #1 podcast in the 765.
So they say. A lot of people say it, though.
#1.
Finally, we have a podcast where you didn't run your mouth
about damn time
before the podcast. Thank you so much. Meg, you see how smooth that went? You know, I'm starting to think the reason why is because of our guest tonight.
No.
And so you don't think so?
It's because you're a grouch ass tonight.
Really?
Yeah, you ain't had sleep, so I've left you alone.
Have I been grouchy?
When I walked in, you was grouchy.
I was?
Yes, so I've been nice tonight.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was grouchy.
No, you ain't been grouchy.
But anyway, welcome to Ed Bounds Live After Dark. I'm your host, Ed Bounds, along with Brooke McCall and Megan Horn. And we here with another wonderful podcast because I'm the greatest and they come in second place and we are here. You know, my Pepsi, it was frozen. It was getting run over. So thank God I caught it. See, it's fizzing. Look, you keep staring. Oh, man. So we got a subject tonight that is very troublesome. And I'm not happy about our Grant County Prosecutor's office. And I'm not the only one. There's other people in Grant County who are outraged. They are outraged on one, because of the petty charges that's coming out of that office. And they are outraged of the sentencing, the plea bargains that are coming out of Scott Hunt's office. And so people have said, you know, Ed, it's not fair. It's you know, this is happening. I have this person and they get out on bond and they shouldn't be out on bond. And, you know, and I'm like, it's not much I can do because the person that I knew that was in there that could help is no longer there. Grant County, you made a horrible decision and you did it and you need to undo it. And so we need to bring some stuff to attention. And I got some stuff to tell you guys that you're not going to want to hear. And we have a very special guest on with us tonight, Rodney Faulk, who is from the used to be prosecutor of Grant County. He's a former police officer. And I'm sure he doesn't know the little side thing that they pulled at the courthouse last Friday. Rodney Faulk, welcome to the Ed Bounds Live After Dark. I think this will be your first time on the Ed Bounds Live After Dark, right?
Well, thank you. No, you had me, yes, first time on Ed Bounds After Dark. A few years ago, you had me on a program, and I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me. It's a real honor to be with you and your ladies, and happy birthday, Ed.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's just wonderful. Well, you know, when I had you on before, Rodney, it was just Ed Bounds Live, like you said.
Yes.
Then when we had the After Dark, that's when things get ugly, you know. So, you know, that's when the goons come out is at 9. Excuse the pigs, the hogs are walking. Ain't that
I
what
should
she
have
said?
never told you that.
Yeah. So, yeah, you shouldn't have never told me that. You're right.
Thank you for that one.
Yeah. So, Rodney, welcome, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
So I just want to lay some stuff on you, man. You know, you was in the prosecutor's office for over 20 some years, and 26 years.
Wow.
And you've been around in the game as a police officer. So when I first met you, and you know, you've been around a long time, and you know, unfortunately, you fell short in the last prosecutor election, and which Scott Hunt became the new prosecutor, and he told the people that he would bring change to the prosecutor's office. He told the people that he'd worked real hard and he would get criminals off the streets. Well, since his almost 4 years in there, sex offenders are walking out with barely being even tapped on their hand.
Those
Criminal.
have always been his favorite criminal.
Say that again?
Those have always been his preferred criminal. He seems to favor with softer plea recommendations and softer charges the sex offenders.
Yeah, and the record does show that. So yeah. Well, so you know, Rodney, I don't know if you're aware, but I want to tell this little story that Brooks is familiar with, and she's probably just now hearing about this. So we had a ex co-host that was at a restaurant. She had just picked her mother up from the hospital, and she took her to give her mother something to eat. And there was a young man and his wife. They were there. He was on the phone talking to appeared to be someone that was incarcerated. He was talking about how he was selling meth out here and how much money he was getting and how he was going to shoot this mother's up and this and that. And just language just was flying crazy. So Angela approached him and said, hey, I have my elder mother over here. Can you please quiet that down? He responded, calling her every name in the book but a child of God. And his wife did the same thing, and she took her glass of water and danced it over there towards them. Now, according to the video, don't look like the water even hit them. And so he was being very violent. She called 911, and she set her firearm on the table in the restaurant just to kind of show him, don't come over here and touch me. And so the police got there. They, you know, talked to everybody. And this police officer let these guys hustle talk him. So then it was brought to my attention 3 weeks after that Angela had a warrant for her arrest. So I took her down there to turn herself in and stayed while she bonded out. And they had issued a warrant for battery over some fucking water. Okay. When we went to court, I told her, I said, being that this is a misdemeanor, and Rodney, you know, I know the law very well. And I said, you know, look, you need to write on a piece of paper that you want this case transferred from city court to Superior 3 because you want to have a jury trial. And so she was agreed to do it. In the midst of getting ready to go to court, I had learned that there was someone else that I knew that these same two couple was at stayed across the street at a trap house where they were selling methamphetamine out of it. And the woman that was across the street kept calling the police because of the traffic. So this same gentleman that encountered Angela, him and his wife saw this other woman at Walmart, and was calling her every name in the book. And one of her little 13-year-old daughters said something, and he called her a fat bitch. And she ran over there and pushed him and said, "Don't talk to my child like that." In which that would be normal for a mother to act out like that, because if as a father, I'd have done a lot worse than that. So next thing you know, she has the police pull up in front of her kids and arrest her for battery and took her to jail. Now here you have this criminal that is a known drug dealer. He is a known drug addict. He is with the drug addict, and he's been known to be at all the meth houses in Marion, according to an MPD police officer. And here it is, this guy was involved in all of this. And how is it that this man can put two women in jail, two single mothers in jail, and here he is the real criminal? So I had talked to somebody at the office, and, they asked that our conversation or their names be confidential. And I'm agreeing to that. And I told them my frustration with this whole thing. Now, when we get to court with Angela, she changes up on me and says, "Well, I'm gonna they offering me the diversion program," and I said, "Of course they are, because they don't have a case." And so she was like, "Well, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it." I'm like, "Okay, that's your business. You do it." The other woman, she said, "I'm gonna listen to you, and I'm gonna stick." So I walked her through the process. We went to the clerk's office. She turned the paper in. It got transferred. Now, so she goes to the first court hearing in Soup 3. Prosecutor approaches her and he says, "Well, you have an attorney?" And she was like, "No, I'm representing myself." And he says, "Well, okay." He says, "So why are we here?" She's like, "Well, I transferred." He said, "You're planning on taking this to trial?" And she was like, "Yes, that's why I transferred it over here." And he was like, "Well, let me go check something out. I'll be right back." He leaves, goes look at the video from Walmart, come back with a piece of paper and said, "Sign this." And she was like, "What's this?" He says, "This is a dismissal. I'm not pissing around with this."
Right.
And she signed it, and it got dismissed. And I had, if numbnuts would have listened to me, her case would have got dismissed as well.
Well, let me tell you why these are happening. It's because they're not applying a rule that prosecutors are supposed to follow. That is, they're supposed to ask themselves, is there a reasonable likelihood of success if I take this case to trial? And with Scott Hunt's sneaky little game that he plays, he's going to charge everybody without applying that rule. And that's why you got a bunch of crap in city court that needs transferred so that jurors can hear what's going on. And I think a lot of times people will prevail because these cases are being reviewed by non-lawyers in that front office. The 3 or 4 ladies that sit up there, they're reviewing cases and filing cases in city court.
I heard that. Yes, I heard that.
So you got non-lawyers that don't know what the rules are to apply, and then you've got the office being ran by a little sneaky man who I've got a story on with sex offenders after you finish, Ed.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for bringing that part to our attention. And so to finish up real quick, Rodney. So I spoke with somebody, the prosecutor, Meg, and I said, "Listen, Angela shouldn't have been charged." And I said, and I'm going to tell you something. Y'all come after one of my people again, and I'm telling you, secrets going to fly out of this office because I know some shit. All right? There's going to be people going to be filing for divorces. And so I was pissed because I felt, I'm not saying that she was wrong. I'm saying that I understood her position, and she got frustrated and threw some water. Do we have time to lock up somebody for throwing water across the table? And
No,
It's all about money.
yeah, yeah. And so that was my problem. And then when Amy got locked up, a single mother, when she got arrested in front of her children, then I became really angry.
and just think about all the cases that are happening to people that you don't have direct contact with.
Exactly. And so so let me give you the update. So the other night, I'm sitting here listening to the scanner as usual. I'm in here working in the studio. As hard as I work, some of us around here got work for a living. Y'all got it made. Rodney, I got to work hard. My girls, And so I'm listening to the scanner, and I hear right over here by me, and I didn't hear no shots because I had the TVs going. I had music playing. So they said over there at around the 20th 100 block of South Washington Street, it said that a man was chasing his wife, shooting at her. Did you remember that, Meg? It was
on Scanner Freaks.
Scanner Freaks,
like
yes. And so the police hauled ass coming by here. They always come down McClure Street heading, and they come flying by with their lights and stuff. Well, they got into a foot pursuit. They knew he threw something, but they couldn't find it. They caught him, and then they found a handgun, a .380 caliber, I believe, in a trash can. And so they got the gun, and because the police officer saw him throw it in that vicinity, he can say, okay, it was you that threw this 36A. So they arrested the guy. Rodney, guess who it was?
Don't know.
It was the same person that I'm speaking of in both incidents.
Doesn't surprise me.
Oh.
Same person. They got him for possession of a firearm by serious violent felon, and he was running around shooting at his wife in the middle of a public on Washington Street, and had the whole street, had all of Adams Street on the scare because he's running around shooting at his wife.
Wow.
Pretty well give him a green card to do that. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. So when I tried to tell people, when I looked this guy up and heard about this guy, why are my question to the prosecutor's office was, why are we putting out a comfort blanket for this piece of shit? You see what I'm saying? And so, nobody.
If you don't get, they don't know their population, and that's one thing that myself and my lawyers knew was the people that we were dealing with. We've been dealing with them for 26 years.
But he didn't commit a crime in either of those situations, though, either.
No, he didn't, but he did. But, Angela was the one that called the police.
Right, but he didn't do anything, so they can't arrest him. He didn't do anything.
You can't arrest him. I know. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, when you do your homework on who you're dealing with, why would you request a warrant for both of these women?
Right.
Yeah. If you've been living paycheck to paycheck at Brown Spitzer Harriman for your whole career, and then you suddenly appear in the prosecutor's office, you've tried 5 jury trials, you're not going to know the people that you're dealing with, and that's his problem.
Yeah. And so,
because if he really did his homework, you see that he had a bad criminal record.
Yes.
Angela had never, ever been arrested before.
Yeah.
She had never been in any type of trouble.
That was my whole point.
Yeah, I get that part. But
So my thing was, when you wrote the reports up, why would you request her a warrant for her? So that means you listen to these guys that got a lot of experience of being cons and criminals.
Action with the police.
Yes. And so why would you request a warrant for her arrest? And then when the situation happened out there in Walmart, I'm going to tell you, back when Rodney and them was police, they would have said, and this is what they did back then. Hold on, Ed. You into it with a woman. Okay? How do you expect me to handle this? You're into it with a woman. Come on. Gangsters don't do that. You out here into it with a woman. So the police back then, when him and Randy Black and all them guys, they'd have been like, okay, look, honey, sweetheart, you go. Just you guys stay away from each other, but let me handle him. Better. You know better. You know better.
Now they can't help it, but the police department's so young. They have so many rookies on there. They're not dealing with a population that they know either.
Well, they're not allowed, and Rodney, I'm just saying this because I know what I'm talking about, and I'll debate this dude any day. But it's the leadership. You know, the leadership is telling them, you know, fuck up everything in your way, tear them up. I don't care, just terrorize, do your thing, and that's. You know, Dave Homer had an approach when he was, that's why I favored him as chief of police, because Dave Homer had what he called the finesse way. Him and J.K. and them would say, listen, don't fight with these guys. Get nice and cool with them so you can get your eyes on what's in that house to give you a reason to go get us a warrant.
Yes, and someday there's going to be a murder or two in the neighborhood where you live at, and if you've been picking at people, like they did Ronnie Drake and my friend that owned the Ebony Lounge before him, they write tickets to him, ticket after ticket after ticket for BS stuff. And then when a murder happens, they want the owner of the bar to cooperate with them and give them names.
Yeah.
And it don't work like that.
It don't work. You're right. And so I just...
that's why J.K. and Dave Homer were so successful.
Exactly.
They didn't pick the apart people that they were going to need in the future.
Exactly. Yep. They knew how to manipulate the public. They knew the finesse game. And their finesse game was so good that they were able to succeed because J.K., when he was rolling, J.K., when murders and stuff happened, Jay had so many people that owed him favors. He doubled back. And this Rodney, when he was detective, Randy Black, when he was detective, they would double back and be like, hey, let me talk to you.
Jim Perkins had the best informants that I ever seen.
Damn, you went deep.
He knew things, and Gus Dorsey the same way. People came to Gus's house and turned themselves in for murders that committed.
Yes, to his home.
Trust.
And
right from wrong, trust with the community.
And
that's what it is.
That's the way it worked. Well, this is a different police this time, and you know, there's a lot of officers that I really like that's on the department, and I'm trying to, talk to them about, man, working with your community, be with your community. Everybody's not a suspect, and I just wish I love our mayor, and I just wish Ronnie would undo what the leadership he has at that police department. I just really do. And I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. Who?
Kim Streety owned the
yes, Kim Streety. Yes.
Before, or the Continental, whatever they call it, before Ronnie did. And Kim would come to my office, and he would have 4 or 5 tickets that he had accumulated over the last 3 or 4 months. And I would say, give those to me, Kim. I'll dismiss every one of them. And he said, Rodney, they really got me down. They keep stopping me and writing tickets. And then when something bad happens, I'm not cooperating with them because they've done made me mad. And that's a lot of what's going on right now.
Absolutely. So now, I also got something to tell you guys. You probably need to be ready for this. So, Rodney, I know Rodney's going to say yes. Rodney, you remember Raymond Glass?
Very well, yes.
Raymond Glass, I want to let you guys know, he used to run for mayor. He was mentally handicapped, but he was a good man.
Yes. He was a good guy.
He was a good man. He could have $1.50, and if he can get both of you a cup of coffee, he gonna spend that $1.50.
Yeah.
He didn't ever have any ill intent with anybody.
No. He'd tell you about yourself, but it was love. It was love, and he was special needed. Mentally, just it don't matter. But he was a good man. Here, this man a couple of years ago was in the hospital sick. He got discharged. They told him he can go home, and he got his stuff together, got dressed, and his family was waiting across the street, and he was walking out the emergency room exit. Walked out into a street, and a woman come and plowed him, drug him down the road, and she left him for dead, and he died down the street. And she went on home. She was drunk. She had alcohol-related charges before this happened. I want to let you know. So she was charged with vehicle homicide. What's that charge called, Rodney?
Manslaughter.
No.
Yes, you got it right.
Okay,
Vehicular homicide.
Yes, and leaving the scene of an accident causing resulting deaths, and so she bonded out immediately, and she works at American Woodmark, and she's telling the people at American Woodmark, "Oh, I'm gonna get out of this," and people was
usually do.
like you were a sick fuck. You know, she had to leave. They had to say, "Look, why don't you take a couple weeks off?" Because you got a lot of people riled up over here. Because, like I said, everybody liked Raymond. He was a good man, and so, so I'm here to tell you, she got sentenced last Friday. She received in Superior 1 8 years, 4 years suspended, and 4 years do 3 in house arrest. No jail time, no prison time.
For killing a man.
Yes.
But remember when Weston James was driving with his children, taking his kids to school, and he got in an accident. He hit another car, and he killed that guy in that accident. How? I think Weston got 8 years. How?
Yeah, it was something like that.
And he's actually right now in prison.
But he's in prison.
And he didn't leave the scene of the accident. He stayed right there.
Yeah.
So she even got an extra charge. So
Well, everyone, when I was prosecutor and deputy prosecutor for 26 years, that case was always, or that charge was kind of a weak felony. It was at that time a Class C felony with a 2 to 8 year sentence, and everyone that was convicted of that got the maximum 8 years. There was little wiggle room in that. I prosecuted case after case of Class C felonies, and many of them forgery and other nonviolent crimes would receive the advisory sentence, maybe a 4 year sentence with 2 suspended, 2 executed, or 2 on home detention. But under the facts of a OWI resulting in death, those were always maxed out. Everyone always got the maximum sentence because it seemed like the case was undercharged to begin with because the statute was so restricted.
Yeah, the statute. Yeah. Yes, I agree. Well, when I found out about this, like I said, no press, nobody knew. They swept it, and I got hit. I got 4 messages, and keep my name out of it, but you need to look into this. And so I verified today the sentencing because they hid the sentence part on my case, and I wasn't understanding. You go look on my case, it just says she got 8 years, 4 years suspended, but it don't say, was it 4 years Department of Corrections?
The other 4 years.
So where's
the girl that hit the guy?
her name
I think we need to
is
say her
Sprong.
name.
Brittany Sprong. Brittany, let me make sure.
That's a miscarriage of justice.
Absolutely.
Let me make
Now I have a question. Who chooses what people's bonds are? Is that the prosecutor?
That's the judge. Rodney, you want to explain that for her?
Yes.
Yes, the judge establishes the bond amounts in their respective courts, and the prosecutor can ask for a bond to be increased because the person's flight risk or a danger to the community. And a lot of times that's done, but the judge establishes the bond, the standard bond list for his court.
So that's why there's different ones, because it's just not making sense. If you really start watching these people being arrested, like what this person's bond's only 605, but then this person's is 2,000, and they have less charge, and their charge is less.
What you're saying is they're not uniform.
Yeah,
their bonds are not uniform
at
That's
all.
correct.
It's really ridiculous. I've been noticing that pattern lately.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, and I think a lot of people, and I think a lot of people have kind of started voicing. I've seen a lot online where a lot of people are voicing, like, how is this right? How can someone just get like the child pornography? I seen one of them, and he was just like right out, and it was like, how is his bond only 1,000 or 500 or whatnot? Like how and people are starting to notice the difference. So that's a good thing to put out on here so that people can understand, like, no, that's how it works right there. So yeah.
I think our big problem right now is people do a charge, they get bonded out, they go commit another charge, they bond out, they do another charge, they
Yes,
bond out.
preach.
I feel like if you get bonded out one time and you get charged on that charge,
Done.
there's no bond.
You sit there.
Amen.
Hey, but you know what? Rodney can tell you this. Back before Luttrell, when Luttrell was in there and when Rodney was prosecutor, if you violated one bond, you were done. You were
That's
done.
what it needs to be.
Yeah,
I
you were done.
know somebody that is actually out on over
What, like
5
3?
to 7 bonds right now.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Well, my daughter, she was out on 2 felony bonds.
I think after one.
Yes, well, that's the way it's always been. You know,
Before you hang up with me tonight, I've got a shocking story to tell you about Scott Hunt and his brother-in-law, a
Go ahead.
sex offender.
okay.
Well, when I became prosecutor, I knew my population, and it wasn't long before I was informed that Scott Hunt had a brother-in-law that was convicted of 6 felonies. They were either child solicitation or some level 6 felonies, and that he had that on his record for some time. And I knew that, and I kept that in the back of my mind. Well, my very last day in office, after 26 years, my very last day in office, I saw a copy of a petition or a chronological case summary where a petition had been filed to expunge every one of those felonies. And here I sat there's no judge upstairs in this court. It's my last day in office. I have no power, no authority after this. Whatever I file, they can dismiss or request that it my request be terminated. And so I saw that all of these cases have been expunged, and it wasn't, or they had been a petition to expunge these cases. And for people that don't know what expungement is, it means your cases get erased as if they never happened. And unfortunately, there were no guidelines or protocol that was filed. In certain cases involving children as victims, we need to be more protective of our victims, and it required that victims be notified in this case. No, there were no victims notified. There was no one that ever came to me and said, we've got a rather tenuous situation here that involves a deputy prosecutor who was just elected as prosecutor, namely Scott Hunt. And the whole thing had his name written all over it because of the way it was filed. It got filed the day before he became the elected prosecutor. It would have been a conflict of interest for him to have handled that when he was prosecutor. Although it was his deputy prosecutors that went along with the petition to expunge. And now, if you type his brother-in-law's name in the computer, you get nothing. So they were successfully expunged. It was filed while I was still in office on the last day I was there, so that I would be powerless, no matter what my position would have been. And my position would have been to dismiss that petition, as there were no victims notified, and the prosecutor hadn't been notified. And he ultimately takes the reins over that at midnight that night, and it was done by a defense attorney, no doubt all orchestrated by him, and it's got his name all over it. That's the kind of prosecutor you're dealing with, a very sneaky, low-life individual.
Yeah,
That makes sense why you said he's soft to the child molesters.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well,
Yes.
Very
soft. When he announced that he was running for prosecutor, he had launched a web page, and the first 3 people to sing his praises were all convicted sex offenders.
Yes, that is true. I saw it myself, and I was outraged. I'm like, I'm the one that told Rodney. I'm like, man, you see this shit? And I just could not believe it, because to me, sex crimes against children, man, you should get hammered, and you should get hammered like ain't no hammered, because these children are damaged for life.
Ever.
these little
And
girls and
they're
boys.
very likely to commit a molest on another child. Once they become
That is
a victim themselves.
true. Yes. So they are damaged for the rest of their life. And they don't know the damage that they cause. Now, that when you do that, that is an illness. You just don't do it and go home and say, I'm not doing that again. It don't work like that. They usually reoffend because if you can mess with a small child, if it's in your mind, it'll be in your mind to do it again. And so those people should be monitored. I think the sheriff that's in there now, Sheriff Dale Garcia is on top of that. He's making sure that they're registering. He want to know where they at, what you doing, what you eating. Dale is on their ass.
I definitely see a lot more in the police blotter about the sex offender checks and going to different addresses. That has increased a lot.
Well, a guy came into my office, and Ed, you'd know who it was. I don't remember off the top of my head, but a guy came into my office to do look at a sexual check in on one of them.
Right.
One of my tenants, I didn't even know was one. And he was in there to check on him. And then he said, he said they just gave him all these cases. And he told me how many there was in Grant County. I was just like, wow. And so he's on it. Do you remember who that was?
His name is Detective Ogden.
Yes.
And he is good.
Yes, he's on it.
He doesn't play.
That's where
he's very thorough.
Since he came in my office, I've from then on been seen not registering.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's really good at it. He's on it, and as he should, because we need to know where these people are living so we can keep our children safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
One time, Detective Ogden, in his diligent work, he wrote a speeding ticket to a deputy prosecutor's child. It was Lisa Glancy's child, and she took it upon herself to dismiss the ticket of her son, and it upset Matt. He was a very conscientious sheriff's deputy, and that's the kind of stuff that went on when Glancy was in the prosecutor's office.
And do you know?
Little shit.
Yeah. Now I'm glad. Tara, my girl from Kokomo, me and Brooke's girl from Kokomo, I know she watched the podcast, and so we was talking about you to her because we was telling her about we kicked Lisa out of our city, and she's over there in Kokomo, man, giving them hell. I mean, that woman, you can say her name, and people I hate that bitch.
She's just lucky to hear that somebody hadn't killed her.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I've heard say, Rodney, you don't know how close I came or my cousin came to killing her.
Yes.
The hatefulness. She said it wasn't the fact that we were prosecuted, just the hate that she exuded toward our family, our race, and just a very hateful individual.
I know of somebody that Brooke and Rodney, you know them, and well, Brooke, you kind of know one of them, and one of the family members. I've been running with them for years. When his nephew got out, he was making arrangements to have her popped off.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
And I said, bad as I hate this bitch, bro, don't. I said, because if you do that, you're going to have them. You ain't going to be able to do nothing. These police is going to be tearing up because they going to want to know who's behind that. And then the fucking FBI going to come in here then. And then
and I discouraged it myself, but I heard it from at least a dozen people that, that themselves or another close family member had discussed killing her or how they were going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's no way to handle your business.
So she's over there in Kokomo. Thank God they got her over there and stay over there in Howard County because we don't want her back. We had enough of her.
When is the next prosecutor election?
Rodney, do you know that question?
Yes, it'll be May of 2026.
Yep.
So next
year. All right.
So, being that we know what we know, this is a lot of people not happy. And, Rodney, I'm just telling you, how people come to me. You know how people call me. I talked to Miss Whitaker. Y'all know who that is. She's the president of NAACP. And she says, Ed, we need to sit down and have a conversation. I've gotten a lot of people complaining about that prosecutor's office. And now, when I say the prosecutor's office, not everybody is over there bad. Let me be clear.
Right.
A lot of people don't like Justin Faulk. He's an investigator, but I like Justin. Justin cool. That's Ronnie Morell's stepdad. I'm cool with Justin. Justin cool. If you talk to Justin, he'll listen. He'll reason with you, because he has a heart and he's talkable. You can pull him aside. Hey man, let me talk to you, and he'll hear what you say, and let's try to fix it. That's what I like about him. But you know, some of the prosecutors over there, let me tell you, Jamie Moore, who I was told is running for prosecutor. He's wasting his time because he's got too many people that freaking hate him. That's why he goes out that side back door when he leaves. I watched him do it today. He did it today. I was standing there waiting on
all those doors was locked.
No, the prosecutors and them have, and the judges have access to that back door. They're locked to us.
Okay.
But they're not locked to the judges and prosecutor. Am I correct, Rodney?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
They're not alarmed anyway. You can take the T-bar off there and walk out.
Yeah.
And I've seen people do it that are mad that leave court, that don't want to take the stairs or the elevator. They just take the T-bar off and leave. And yeah, there's no alarm on it.
So he goes out that back door. I saw him go out. And, you know, I'm like, okay. Well, why you don't go downstairs? Like, duh, but that's his prerogative. But anyway, I hear he's planning on running. Now, the Happy Johnston, you know, I knew Happy ever since she was in middle school, when she was a cheerleader. And Happy's cool. You know, I've seen her operate in court, and I'm like, okay, I see you. You know, Happy trying to put her thing down. She was working with Evan. And we know, you know, in my opinion, Rodney, when you was prosecutor, Evan worked his ass off.
Yes, he did.
And that dude, when you want to talk about putting in 80 hours in 1 week, Evan Hammond did that.
And Happy's father works there too, and he's a wonderful.
Yes, Mr. Johnson. He handles the juveniles.
Yes.
And so, you know, bless his heart, you know, he gets up down in the mornings and he does his thing. And I think that man's probably about 80-something years old.
He's got to be in his late 80s.
Yeah, he's about 80-something years old. He's still practicing, still arguing. And
yes, very sharp-minded.
He'll argue with them defense attorneys like it's nothing. And so, and then...
and I hired both of them. I hired Happy and your
Yes, absolutely. I remember. And then I've been hearing, I don't know, because there's two Hannahs over there in the prosecutor. One fucking sucks ass.
Yeah, that's the grouchy one. They had big one, I'll call her, big girl.
The one in city court, right?
Yes. No, that's Hannah Thompson. Hannah Kachonik is the grouchy one that works in the courthouse.
Well, now she is a rising star, Rodney.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. I have been, when I hear her name in the streets, I hear her name with the police. So she's a rising star. They said that she's not been budging because somebody come to me, Rodney, and said there's a prosecutor over there that's being too rough. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean too rough? And they explained the situation, and I says, okay, here's where you're going to be mad at me. Okay? Because this is why I ask y'all, I tell people, look, if you don't want me to give it to you straight, let's end this right here. And I said, well, I'm going to have to give it to you straight. I agree with this because your son did what he did, and that's that. So, you know, and then I had somebody else come to me, and I'm like, are you guys kidding me? So then I went to somebody police, and I says, hey, what's up with this Hannah Krasonic? And they says, Ed, she's not taking any bullshit. She's trying to.
Well, that's good.
And then I talked to Chuck, Chuck was hearing stuff about. He said, "Have you heard?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, hell, maybe this woman can get some of these motherfuckers off the street and keep them off the street." Rodney, I don't know her. I don't know her. When they tried to, if she walked in the studio, I wouldn't know her.
Yeah, she could work on her courtroom etiquette a little bit. She got smart with me in front of about 12 attorneys and a judge.
Oh, really?
Over there.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
She's quite full of herself. But if she does a good job, then more power to her.
Yeah. Like I said, Rodney, I don't even know this woman. She can walk up and pinch me, and but I heard the name. Mm-hmm. And another guy working courthouse, he said, "Well, she bakes us cookies." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Mm-hmm. But when you write, I'm gonna ride with that.
Okay.
When I dislike you or don't like you or whatever, if you standing on business, then I'm gonna ride with it. But if you on bullshit, I'm gonna call you to the curb. And the stuff that's come to me on her so far, Rodney, she's been doing her job as a prosecutor. Prosecutor ain't supposed to a prosecutor ain't supposed to be your fucking buddy any fucking way.
No.
And that's what I had to explain to him. A prosecutor is not supposed to say, "Hey, buddy, how are you doing?"
Job.
Yeah, exactly. It's your attorney to say, "Hey, I want to give you suck you off," or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah. So, I just had to throw that in there. A little pettiness, Rodney,
A little compassion.
Yeah, a little compassion. Yeah.
A little compassion from the
But, Rodney, was she working in the office when you were there?
No, I didn't hire her. I believe her dad was a probation officer. He was a fine person, Brad Kashoni.
Brad, that's right. Okay, the big guy.
Yes.
He did PSIs.
Yes.
Yes, he did my last pre-sentence investigation, and it fucking sucked. But I was telling the truth. Well, I can't be mad. Y'all calm me down, because he probably was telling the truth, But so Rodney, what have you been doing, man? What have you been doing since you ain't been in the prosecutor's office?
I'm fielding some of those bullshit cases they're filing too. I've got 5 or 6 defendants, people that knew me that have came to me and said, "Hey, I'm really getting bamboozled by the prosecutor's office." I have a defendant, and he was charged with battering what I would consider a nuisance to Marion, Indiana, and I'm not going to mention his name, but just somebody that's an unwanted guest in about every home in the city, or has been. And
I know
my client and him had a physical confrontation. My client is a 20-year veteran of the Special Forces, the Green Berets, and he served 2 tours in Vietnam. They've filed a level 5 felony against him, and they're wanting to put him in a cage now. Same thing the Viet Cong wanted to do, is put him in a cage when he was in Vietnam, and now the prosecutor's office wants to put him in that. He's never been. Once again, it's a case where the prosecutor read the case, or one of his non-attorneys read the case, and they didn't understand the context of what was going on because they didn't know the players. And he was simply protecting his son, and who he shares custody with his ex-wife, and they filed a level 5 battery against him for battery with a deadly weapon. And yet they found no gun. They said that he battered this person with a gun, which they never found, and he doesn't even own a gun. So they never offered him Veterans Treatment Court, and they certainly didn't do any investigation beyond what the police did. The police never attempted to interview him at all. So, I would say there's 2 sides to every story, and you've got to know both sides in order to make an informed decision.
Yes,
they did not
I agree.
Make any attempt to interview him, and they didn't do much of an investigation. And the prosecutor's office could have easily had John Kaufman or Justin Faulk, 2 able investigators, to go out and follow up and find out what the truth was about this case. But we never asked for a plea agreement. We're going straight to jury trial.
All right.
And I've got a few other clients the same way. They need a jury trial because of the unfair way they were treated, and I've tried 111 jury trials over 26 years. One thing I am proficient at. I think I've probably won 95 of those 111 cases. And so I saw a young man that put a message on Facebook 2 weeks ago. He said, can somebody recommend a lawyer? I don't want a plea agreement. I want to go to trial. And 4 or 5 people said, you better go out of Marion and you better go to Indianapolis. And I thought, well, this is a good place for me to intervene. And I did. I said, hey, I'm available to hire for trial. I've tried 111 jury trials. Most of them lasted a week, and some of them 2 weeks. And I'd be glad to talk to you about your case. And I talked to him for about 20 minutes on the phone, and he hired me. And so I am available to be hired. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, I'm on Facebook. Feel free to send me a message, send me a friend request.
Well, I got somebody, and we're gonna call you tomorrow. And I got somebody that I need you to represent. It's not nothing hard, but I'm gonna need you to take care of it. And so we'll Yeah, so we'll be in touch with that tomorrow. Now,
you sent me a client last week too, and I appreciate that, Ed.
Yes, you're welcome, Brooke. Now, are you familiar with? Did you hear about the drug court graduation that happened the other night?
Yes.
Did you hear and did you see that?
Yes.
What's your thoughts?
Well, one of the people that they went through and graduated, she's had so many, what do you call that?
Violations.
Yeah,
Sanctions,
violations.
yeah. Do you know?
I don't understand it.
Do you know she trapped the whole entire fucking time? This is her third time on there. She's been to prison, and every time she gets jammed up, they put her back on there because, in my opinion, if you do drug court, you shouldn't be allowed to keep coming back and doing the program.
No,
I don't think that's fair. And the thing with her trapping, this ain't what I heard. This is
tweaking. She was tweaking.
And yes, at the graduation.
Trapping to me is like drug house, poorhouse.
Yes, I seen it with my own eyes. I swear to God.
I'm saying tweaking is like she's on drugs right then.
I know exactly just by that. I know exactly. Like I was like, wait a minute. I seen the little post.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
Graduated, huh? But I don't even know none of them. But I could just see.
But it wasn't just her. It was another one that everybody was talking about too, and that was her second or third time on there. Mm-hmm. And they graduate and they go right back. Well, not right back. They're still doing it. They just find a way. And Rodney will tell you, the criminals, they keep getting smarter as they go. And
but you got criminals running it.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's where the problem is.
Okay, well, preach.
And so people are fucking and sucking and doing whatever they want. These criminals are running this program, and it gave them power, and so they're doing whatever they want criminally.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
because if you just get off with a slap on the hand, the next time you're gonna think, okay, well, this got me caught, so let's do it this way, and then you get another slap on the hand. That is just a bunch of different trial and errors till you find a way that you can get by with it more than however long it was the last time.
Well, see, Meg, as they keep doing it, they find a way to manipulate the counselors. The counselors are not what they should be.
It's a money scheme.
And
yes,
I agree with that.
And I think that the judge over there has just let this become about money instead of saying, look, we need to clean this up. Now, listen, I'm not going to pick this up. This is police officers that wear uniform that's come to me, Brooke, that come to me about this. And so I went to look into it, and I'm like, wait a minute. How do probation not know that what this woman is doing and everything how do they not know?
No.
They have to have
Come
drug
on.
tests.
Yes. Most of the
Well,
time,
every time they gave her one, she failed it.
And then they just smack her on the wrist and keep her in the program.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Exactly.
Yes,
They need to
do.
be if you fail a drug test, you need kicked out the
Sanction.
program.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything for you, or you're doing something.
Especially if this is your second or third time in the
Yes,
Time and time
this
again,
is
yes.
to help people
That-
get on recovery, and what they're doing is they're letting people get through just to get off probation and get out of doing jail time. It's just a scheme, scam, money scam.
Because at the end of the day, they know that, we helped them according to our standards, but they know they're going to see them again with that next case that comes, because they know they didn't help them if they're giving them sanction after sanction and trial after trial. I mean, I get it. Like you don't want to, first violation, you don't want to seem like that, but after 3 times on the program with various violations, come on, there is enough is enough.
Exactly.
And that goes back to what he said. You got to know your players in the city. And
Yes.
if you don't, then that's what happens. You get ran over on. You get
Yes.
bamboozled and criminal talked, or whatever you call it.
Exactly.
But if you don't know who you're dealing with, and that is one thing that I think that's where this prosecutor definitely, he don't know.
Yeah, and he doesn't know. But let me say this, Meg. Let me say this. If they brought in guys off the streets, and Rodney will tell you, he's called me in, and I'll go help. Judge McLean is one of the best juvenile referees we've ever had in the history
One
of
the best
Grant
legal
County.
minds.
Yes.
One of the best legal minds.
He is the most fairest. He is the most, and there's a lot of police that hate him. I'm like, listen, I understand y'all situation, but I'm sorry. Brian McLean is a friend of mine. I like Brian, what he's doing. He's fair to these kids. And, he follows the law.
Yes, he does.
That's what he goes by. And it's not this double standard shit. He doesn't play that bullshit. And so, I would like to have more hands on with those juveniles. What's this hate? Where's this hate coming from that make you want to go out here and kill at 13 and 14 years old?
Video games, rap songs.
I feel like the rap songs is a big thing on that. I used to. Okay, so I feel like when I wasn't a parent and I was the kid that listened to the rap songs, I'm like, no, whatever. You don't know what you're talking about, mom and dad and old people. But now that I listen to these rap songs,
the rap music is different today.
absolutely 100%. And now I'm like, what is that?
My son told me the reason why these kids are out gangbanging and doing what they're doing is because they're listening to these rappers, these Marion rappers, these local rappers, and thinking that they cool gangbangers.
Yeah.
And he said that's where it's coming from. But I also think the video games and all the shooting and stuff, I think that's a lot to do with it as well.
Hey, Brooke, so...
We had duck hunt. That was our shooting game.
yeah.
That was our shooting
And I bet y'all suck, too.
No.
But Brooke, the thing what I like is where these kids, they will admit it, and I'm like I gotta respect that. But what gets me, even though I respect that, but what gets me is these little fuckers they'll get caught with a Draco, and it's like, I think a Draco gun sucks. I do. I would never own
I
one.
don't know
I have no
much
me
about
neither.
it.
Well, if you listen,
That's on rap songs.
yeah, if you listen to it in enough rap songs, that's what those rappers out of Memphis, Tennessee, rap about Dracos and stuff like that. But if you know your guns, I would never have it on a Draco. But because rappers have talked about it, like Rodney, when we were young, you heard the rappers talk about AK-47s.
Yes.
And so now is AR-15s and
the ghost guns.
Yes, and everything else, and it's like, okay, now and these kids want one, and that's what they go to get, and they're dying to use it.
Yes.
They are dying. You hear
It's
me?
been glamorized. That's glamorized by
you're not understanding. You're taking a life,
Right.
and they're not understanding it. So it's
Well,
like,
you're giving your life up as well when you pull that trigger.
and a lot of them don't even have regard for their own life. They don't care. Like I've heard a lot of like the kids and all that, like who like, oh well, I'm and I know this is like, oh well, I ain't gonna live very long anyways, or this or that. I know that's been around for a long time, but these kids really like have like no home training. Like
you're right about that.
Their parents just send
you're
them
right
to
about
room
that.
so they can do what they do, and they kind of grew up on.
I have two
the
home
iPad
health
or whatnot.
Yeah, I have. Excuse me, I have for interrupting you, but
No, you're fine.
I have 2 home health aides that didn't know how to cook,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, and I didn't get mad.
No.
I said, sweetheart, come here, because
I didn't know how to cook when I moved out on my own.
Neither.
well, okay, that's fine, but I was my mom made me learn, and Rodney, you remember my mother.
Yeah.
I had to learn at 9 years old. So I'm just saying,
My niece can, and she's about that age, so it's doable.
but I didn't get mad at these young ladies. I took them in the kitchen. I said, here, let me show you something. We're going to teach you the right way.
That's right.
Well, go ahead.
They don't get taught. That's the thing. And my son, he's 17 now, well, almost 17, and one of his big things is like, we're soft on the kids. Like, we can't whoop them. We can't do this. We can't do that. So,
I
but
whoop
my
my
son,
babies.
no, and my son,
Right.
my son will tell you, like, you can tell who didn't get like whooped at home, like that don't have no home training. Now, some of them, I get it, gentle parenting. But when you're 3 and my son puts himself in the corner after doing something and laughing at me, that gentle parenting isn't just for him. But I feel like it's a lot of get out of my face, like go to the room, and they're taught by the rap songs, the videos, the what iPad, whatever. That's
Social media.
That's how they're taught. There's not like a lot of teaching from parents. Like
me and Ed was talking the other day how we grew up, our kids grew up in Brinker Heights. We were adults living there, and back in that day, there was hundreds of kids running the neighborhood.
Yep.
I bet if you go drive through there right now on a Saturday,
You ain't going to count 5 kids.
Yeah, you ain't gonna see no kids because guess what? They on social media.
or the kids that
they
don't
in
have
their
a phone
room.
or a game. You'll see them outside doing something, but other than that,
You don't see kids riding their bikes. They don't get to play with their imagination. They don't get to enjoy outdoors.
No, that's
America's
true.
lazy.
Yep. Or they get called on because they're looking suspicious, or they went this way and they were supposed to go this way. People call on these kids and forgot that they were kids once and they did things, So
And then they're committing robberies and stuff like what we witnessed. So we're not gonna hold you up much longer, Rodney. So I want to ask you the magical question. Do you plan on running for prosecutor next year?
Absolutely. I saw a lady at Walgreens last week, and she said, Rodney, when you ran for prosecutor, they blamed you for everything. And they did.
Yeah.
I was blamed for everything, and I understand that. And my opponent, he rode those rumors out, though. He's the one that said there needs to be change in the prosecutor's office, but not one time did he come to me when I was prosecutor and say, hey, would you consider doing this? Or would you consider doing that? Not one time. There was no criticism until he ran for prosecutor. And anybody that knows me, that seen me get knocked down in a fight at Marion High School knows I was back up fighting the next day. And you knock me down, I'll get back up. You're going to have to kill me before you beat me in a fight. So, yes, I'm going to run against whoever the field is, and they won't beat me this time. I'm going door to door and getting commitments from people. My voters didn't show up either, and that was my fault. I didn't do a very good job of getting the voting base excited. And there was a couple people working hard to find a candidate to run against me, and they'll do the same thing to
Scott Hunt, yes,
Scott
yeah,
Hunt
and he's right.
Garcia.
Yes, and they're doing just that too. And then I didn't find out about the Dale Garcia until yesterday, and I'm like, okay, why are y'all running against that? Man, leave that man alone. Dale
told me at Walgreens also, where I saw him, that they're trying to find a candidate to run against him because they're not happy with his positions on the D home. So
I just don't. I didn't agree with that. I heard about that yesterday. I think another term as sheriff, I will welcome that with Sheriff Garcia.
I think he's doing a great job.
I do too. I ain't gonna lie.
His heart is for the people.
Yes.
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 He cares about the people, every single person.
Yeah.
All of them. Yep. I agree.
I agree with you,
Very
bro.
transparent, most transparent than we've seen.
Yeah.
Like,
So I told people yesterday. I said, nah, I can't ride with this one. Bro.
The big thing is with these people is they need to get out and hear the community's voice.
Yes.
That's what matters, and that's where we like. We want to be heard. We want to feel like we care.
They need to be heard by some of these law-abiding people that are getting petty charges filed against them for bullshit.
Yes.
Like Ed talked about earlier. We're not prosecuting the criminals. We're prosecuting people that these secretaries are deciding charges against, people that aren't lawyers, people that don't have any idea who the players are. And that's very unfortunate. They're not using their own rules. Or is there a reasonable likelihood of success if this case goes to trial? And obviously, the person that wound up in Superior Court 3 and had a thoughtful prosecutor to go look at the video and make that decision. That's a shame that wasn't done in the beginning, because a lot of people lose their jobs when they're arrested. People conclude that they're automatically guilty, and they're not. When they somebody gets arrested, it's one person's decision, and they're making it about somebody they don't even know. And so that's why there's needs to be somebody in the prosecutor's office, whether it's me or somebody else, that knows the population, that's been on the street and can make a thoughtful decision without ruining somebody's life.
I agree. Well, people, Grant County and Marion, all outside of Grant County, you heard it from his mouth here. He just admitted tonight here on Ed Miles Live After Dark that he will be running for prosecutor. And I will be rooting for Rodney Faulk for prosecutor. Ed Bound said that.
Oh, thank you, Ed. That means a lot. You and the ladies you're there with tonight. It means
thank you.
A lot.
Thank you.
Can't see it, but I've been smiling.
Yeah, thank you, Rodney. Thank you, man. All right, I know you're busy. You're welcome, and tell your wife Claudia I said hello, and I love her. His wife. Have you ever met his wife? I got to get you guys to meet her. She is so sweet.
I want to meet his monkey.
No, you don't want to meet the monkeys.
Look, I'm like, I want to meet the monkey.
The monkey's gonna fuck you up. The monkeys.
Oh,
he got a monkey. Rodney, tell her how many monkeys you have.
I've got 2 right now. I've had 3, but I've got 2 right now.
Oh, what happened to the third one?
She was a little bit too big for the house. She weighed 29 pounds, and she could whip me. So that's my number one rule: is you can't live in my house if you can whip me.
Yeah, you ain't lying, man. You trying to be Clint Eastwood with that orangutan, right turn, Clyde.
That's my favorite.
Hey, Rodney, you remember that movie? You remember Right Turn, Clyde?
I love the old movies. The Gene Wilder and movies. Silver Streak, remember him? Even Richard Pryor.
Yeah, me too.
Think too much about
okay.
And the Clint Eastwood movie, Every Which Way But Loose is the one you're thinking.
That's the one I'm talking about. That was one of my favorite movies. Right Turn, Clyde. He'd knock you up. Yeah. Okay, well, we're gonna let you get on, and Rodney, it is getting close to 8:00. You have a good evening, and we'll be in touch with you.
For having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll be in touch with you with a new client tomorrow, okay?
Okay, my friend. I'll look forward to it. Let me give my phone number out, if that's okay, while I'm on the phone with you.
Yes.
My cell phone number is area code 765-243-1942. And if I don't answer the phone, it'll go to voicemail. And I'd be glad to talk to you about your case or refer you to somebody that may know more about one particular part of the law than I do. Divorce cases, for example, or any concerns you've got about a case that's filed against you or a friend or family member, just feel free to call me.
All right. Y'all heard it. You got the number. If you didn't get it, if you slow as snail snot, just inbox me. I'll give it to you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you all for having me.
All right. You have a good night, Rodney.
You too.
Bye-bye. Yeah, so, I was talking about you, Brooke. Sometimes you be slow as snail snot, and,
See, this has been a very good, very, very get along podcast. And
I was saying the turtle over here.
well, I'm just saying, I just call it how I see it. So don't get mad at me. I just call it how I see it. So what do you think about that, Megan? Okay. All right. What do you think about that? You've been over there puffing on that damn little pipe and shit. Whatever. Well, it is. It's unfortunate these things that we have happened. So, this thing, all these different complaints that's been coming to me, and the only way we're going to address them, we have to address them together. So now that takes me into my closing argument for tonight, and I want to say Raymond Glass was a good man. Raymond Glass, he loved people. Raymond Glass would be known to say, I love the city of Marion. I love this community, and I love the people in it. Every first Friday, Raymond Glass was there. And he was there, and he showed love, and he showed compassion. And last Friday, the most worst decision ever, one of the worst decisions ever made in that prosecutor's office. Whoever gave that woman, that Brittany Sprong, and that's her name. And the reason why I'm putting you on blast is because you were drunk and then you ran over a sick man and you drug him a half a block and you left him like a dead animal in the road. You didn't even turn around to go see if he was okay. You didn't even go back to administer CPR. You wanted to get away with your crime. Last Friday, you did just that. Because was that justice?
Absolutely not.
No.
It was not justice. And Raymond didn't have much family because he would tell all you guys are my family. And Don Batchelor loved that dude, man. Don Batchelor loved him. And, he's not here with us. And I felt that we owed it to him to stand up for him with this podcast and say whoever the prosecutor that okayed that plea agreement and the judge, how can you go home at night and deal with yourself? That is the most worst thing that anybody could do, because if I'm a judge or I'm a prosecutor, I'm looking at her and I'm saying, you're going to prison. You took a life. You're going to prison. You made a decision because you had too much alcohol and you drug him and you kept on going. No, you're going to prison, lady.
I don't understand why the same scenario years ago and he's in prison. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, it doesn't.
If this person does a battery and this person does a battery, and it's both their first time, they both should get the same amount.
Exactly, and that's the way it should be. And here's this though. Here's this. It ain't like you can't take her to trial and you don't have the evidence. They got the evidence.
Why a plea?
She admitted it. She's been at work telling people. So, man, prosecuting a case has become laziness for a lot of people these days. There's nobody that want to put, to have that oomph to go in that courtroom and say, you know what, defense attorneys, I don't give a fuck what you say. You want to go to trial? Let's go.
Let's go.
We don't have that no more. I mean, I'm hearing it that, like I was saying about this woman, Hannah Korsonic or whatever. That's what I'm hearing about her. I'm hearing she telling all the defense attorney, Todd Gleafield, all of them. She told them, you want a jury trial? Because don't come at me. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I'm hearing through the staff in the courthouse. And they're saying, Ed, she's doing this all by herself. And you know what? When I was at the courthouse today, somebody whispered to me that she is being treated like shit in the prosecutor's office because of it. Now, how you like that, apple? So you put down the person that's doing their job?
Like they're doing it, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So people are calling prosecutor's office and complaining and saying she's asking for higher bonds. Well, duh. Ain't she supposed to? Mm-hmm. This is a fucked up system inside Grant County. Mm-hmm. And, unfortunately, we live here, but the only way we can do something about it unless we change it.
Yep.
We got to change it. We got to work together. Bam, bam. We need bam, bam. I was trying to do one of those,
Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong on her when she came in the door. I said, I'm going to.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I tried to do a Donkey Kong on her, but I forgot what it was. So
He's slow as molasses.
Well, it's better than slower than snail snot.
I was gonna, I didn't remember what you said. I knew it was snail. I was gonna say snail trail, but I knew that was wrong.
I used to see it when I was a kid. They're gonna show you how fucked up I am, right? Like I'm like really fucked up, and
hey, admittance is the first step.
well,
Right.
it is. I tell people all the time I'm ADHD and I'm fucking retarded for real, right? and and I got to thinking, man, I swear to God, last summer I'm high as hell, and I'm sitting outside, and I'm sitting there in the chair, and there was the snail on the chair. It had just rained, and there was the snail on the chair, and I'm looking, and that snail had snot just hanging. And I said, well, damn, is that shit? That shit was taking forever. It was broad daylight. It was here. By the time it got dark and time for me to go in the house, the snail snot was just right here. I said, that's fucking slow. Now, who would think of some shit like that, right?
I don't know.
I'm sitting there high. I'm like, maybe I need to choose some better weed.
We're watching.
Probably wasn't even a snail.
It's like caterpillar.
Probably wasn't. I don't know. But anyway, we are broadcasting live from the Chuck Sewer and Drain studio, and they are number one and a number two business, and they on duty 23 hours a day.
That's not true.
And that's not true sometimes. I'm like, okay, I'll call.
I love you guys, but that's not true.
I'll call at 2:00 in the morning. Ain't nobody answering the phone. So I'm going to have to get to that because I was at the strip club and I need Chuck to come pick me up. And I need to get some plumbing work done. And he didn't answer the phone. So, man, Chuck, you have got to be on duty, bruh. You have got to be on duty. Well, it has come to that time that we have to get up out of here. Now, y'all do have to go home. And y'all do got to get out of here. But the people listening, I don't know what to tell. Don't be yawning on the podcast.
Hey.
That is like, oh, you
It's
act
been a
like.
rough day. It's
I had
tax
a
season. You didn't have. I don't even want to hear. You didn't have no rough
I
day.
had a rough day. And so you got to understand that. She don't ever feel sorry for me, man.
I don't. His rough day is doing 3 chores. Yeah. And he's like, oh my God, I did so much today. I walked down the stairs. I cooked me some breakfast and I took shit.
Okay, so we come to the end. We're done listening to her. All right. Okay, so if we're easy to find on YouTube. We're easy to find on Spotify. Go to Apple Podcasts. We are there. Now, somebody told us we're on Google Podcasts. I don't know, but they said we are. So, hey, listen, I appreciate the support you're showing on Spotify. For you people that's listening on Spotify, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much. And just keep supporting us, keep showing us love, and we'll keep coming back out here and showing you love. Yeah. Y'all have a good night.
Yeah.